infrastructure discovery in this country was actually in 2006, and yet the National Environment Act at the time that existed was of 1995. Hence, most of the environmental laws and regulations had not actually been embedded within the law as it was being crafted back then in the 1990s. But currently we have the new law, the National Environment Act 2019, that takes care of not only oil and gas, but sound chemical management and also climate change. We have the petroleum waste management regulations that have been put in place to ensure that the sector is well regulated, especially the petroleum waste that we're getting out of the drilling fluids and the drill cuttings. In the exploration phase, we were faced with the challenge of how to dispose of the waste that had been generated, and most of us saw that we first took a precautionary measure of storing these wastes in a certain place, in I think 4 consolidation areas within the Alberton Graben, and then later on, the very first hazardous world-class facility actually was put up in the country, and it's found in Yamasoga, but we also have other facilities. One is in Nakasongola that took on this waste, and today we have the petroleum waste management regulations that will now help us to ensure that these are taken on seamlessly. Many management tools have been developed within the country. The Strategic Environment Assessment was developed in 2013. We have the Alberton Graben Monitoring Plan that was also developed and currently is under review to enable it to be updated. We have operational guidelines within the wildlife areas that have been developed. Environmental sensitivity atlases have been developed for Makshan Falls National Park, Semuliki National Park, but also for the entire Alberton Graben. And these are tools that help us to actually ensure that environment and social protection is undertaken. Not forgetting the environmental and social impact assessments that are undertaken before any project actually occurs. And majorly, these have been undertaken for all projects, including the major projects we are moving into Tilenga, ECOP, and Kingfisher. I must say that Kingfisher and Tilenga, together with ECOP, we held their public hearings and people gave their views. These were incorporated into the final ESIS, and now we have NEMA has actually approved Tilenga and Kingfisher. We are awaiting the approval for also the ECOP and the Tilenga feeder. Quite a number of benefits have been actually would I say achieved, not only on the environment, but also on the social side. On the environment, I've already mentioned that we now have waste management regulations. The regulations have been updated. We have oil spill regulations being developed, but also we have had facilities coming up. This country never had a hazardous management facility. To date, we actually have this. We've also achieved the fact that technology, we are now embracing new technology. During the seismic surveys, previously they would first of all use nodes that had cables on them when they are doing seismic. Today we use the cableless technology, and this has been quite an achievement within the sector. On the social side, we have seen a lot of improvement, I must say, within the last 5 years. We are having 600 kilometers of roads being tarmacked within the Alberton Graben, and more will be tarmacked when we move down to developed into the ECOP districts. We are seeing improvement of housing. People, if you went there a few years ago and you see the houses today that are there, the banking sector, look in the economy within Hoima, almost every bank has opened up a branch in that area, and that shows that the economy is actually coming. We are having social livelihoods of people improving, because right now the nutrition of people has actually improved because of the different programs within the oil and gas sector. When we look at the education, we have improved the lives of teachers and the students. Our schools have been renovated, and when you go down to Buhuka, this is a hard-to-reach area, I must say, and through the corporate social responsibility, this place, you find that the company is able to top up the salaries for nurses, but also top up the salaries for the teachers. What does this mean? That the teachers are more available and they are more stable in the job. Also, in the go to the health centers, you will actually find these particular people. We have improved water schemes that are within this area. People are now able to get better water. We have had better access. If you went to Buhuka 10 years ago, you would actually have to be trekking down a hill or up a hill. But today we have a well-tarmacked road that actually goes up to where the communities are. In the next 5 years, as we actually move on as the PAU, I think our outlook is actually brighter. We have now, just as I mentioned, we have most of the legislation in place. We are ready for production. We have undertaken most of the ESIAs, and the PAU, I must commend that we have staffed up our people. Our people are well trained, so we don't expect to see catastrophes within the environment. We expect to see improved livelihoods within the social people. We expect to see more acceptance of the projects within the area, but also we expect to see conservation or a net gain within the biodiversity. We don't expect to actually lose our biodiversity.
The mandate of the PAU is to monitor and regulate exploration, development, and production, together with refining, gas conversion, and storage and transportation of petroleum within Uganda.
Oranto Petroleum Limited is a company based in Nigeria, but we operate in 12 different countries, with producing licenses in Nigeria and New Guinea. We participated in the Uganda licensing round and were awarded the license.
That is ongoing right now is known as a 2D seismic acquisition operation conducted by the licensee known as Oranto Petroleum Limited. And this is an operation that falls under the Ngasa block. On the 10th of October 2017, Oranto Petroleum Limited acquired a production sharing agreement which gave them access.
Gents on the right and ladies are on the left. Thank you.
Area. Now the Ngasa shaft contract area starts from the top of the ground surface to a horizon in the subsurface whose age is equivalent to the mid-Pliocene era.
So at the moment we are doing 2D acquisition with our contractor IMC, who jointly partnered with MSL as our national content policy promote joint ventureship. So MSL is a Ugandan-based company and IMC is an international-based company, and we are doing offshore 2D acquisition.
This is the first stratigraphic licensing that has been done in East Africa. Other countries where we've had this kind of licensing are Trinidad, Tobago, and Norway. So what you're seeing here is part of the work program that the company needs to implement in order to identify where they can drill an exploration well.
We are making very good progress in making sure that we get very good quality data and be able to integrate it with the old seismic data over Ngasa, and then we'll be able to make a very good evaluation of the prospectivity of the Ngasa license area.
The Ngasa block is located within the Albertine Graben, close to Lake Albert, and it's located at the basement of the escarpment on the eastern side of the Albertine Graben. The Ngasa block covers an area of 410 square kilometers.
When you look at the survey, the seismic survey itself, the contracted figure for the survey is $2 million, but that's what goes to the contractor. But we have other addendant expenditures because we have to operate a camp, we have to do an SIA, we have to have security, we have to transport equipment and people, we have to clear the URA, and we also have to have our staff working on the project. We have expenses from our corporate headquarters, so the project could end up costing us maybe up to $3 million.
The government does not incur any costs when it comes to when the company fails to find. As I say, this is an investment by the company. This is their business. So if they find the oil, then they have the reason to keep the block and develop it. But if they don't find the oil, then most times find it's a business decision on letting the block go and then go back and look for oil elsewhere. So the government is not involved in losing any money or any transactions when the company decides to go.
You know, before we started this survey, and it being on Lake Albert, where we have had issues with the Congolese militia, sometimes attacking fishermen, we engaged with the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, who also engaged the Uganda People's Defense Forces, the Uganda Police, Ministry of Energy, and the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, which liaised with the Congolese government to make sure that security during our survey is handled well. They also organized the Uganda People's Defense Forces Marine and the Uganda Police Marine, and we also have the private company which does camp for security, that's G4S.
We have probably all actors within our security curriculums in the country. We have the police, we have the army, and we have the intelligence community. And we bring all together several elements that are critical to the success of this operation. I command the Marines, and since these are offshore seismic operations, I'm the lead agency there. And we make sure that we insulate Oranto seismic assets and personnel against any threat that would come in their way to limit the chances of their success. As a consequence of that, we have the land elements, we have the air component, and we have also, as I've told you, the water, or in other cases you can say maritime components. We have that aspect based on our doctrine, which is joint combined. We combine all elements to make sure that we attain the security we need, and that is why we are here.
In this particular activity, fulfilling that particular mandate, the PIU deploys monitors who are always observing what petroleum operations are ongoing within the fields. And as you can see right now on this particular project, I'm here representing the PAU, such that I can see that there is compliance in terms of the regulation, there's compliance in terms of submitting raw data to the government, there is also compliance in terms of safety when this operation is being implemented.
We had to engage community members of this area, the Tonya Parish, to ensure that they cooperate with us such that our information or our activities are non-interrupted, notwithstanding or not compromising also their activities. So we engage them at various levels of engagement, from the district, sub-county. Then we came to the village where we met with the local community members who do the fishing activity. And we requested them to always give us time to do our activity during the daytime from 8 to 6. And in the night, they go out into the lake and do their fish hunting.
We have gone ahead to put a tool known as the National Suppliers Database, which captures all the information of different suppliers within the industry. And this helps to also keep the environment conducive for people to invest. You're not having the case of briefcase companies. You're not having scenarios where you have organizations that are not legal or they're not genuine. So the NSD helps to address that, and it also helps to show what kind of workforce that we have in Uganda to meet the oil and gas industry. So that is a very favorable tool as well. The other one that we're developing currently is known as the National Oil and Gas Talent Register, where we capture all the details of the different engineers, geologists, petroleum geologists that we have within the country. And it's a platform which is currently being filled with all the documents of different individuals within the country who have the expertise. This creates a pool when a company comes here. Before we start looking for expatriates to take on the role, this platform is used and reviewed by the licensee to see that they can get the people locally who have the expertise to come and work on these projects.
We look forward to going into the next phase of the exploration, which is the last 2 years, starting October 2019. And we feel confident that we'll be able to make a discovery, since Uganda is one of the areas in the world with very high discovery rates. We see ourselves as wanting to be among the lucky ones.
The United Nations says this is just one of the places where decades of devastating environmental damage and pollution has been caused by the oil company Shell. It's Ogoni, in the heart of Nigeria's vast oil-producing region, filmed by our crew in June last year. The UN report released last week says it will cost $1 billion and 30 years to clean up the mess.
And put them.
But local leaders say the report, which cost $10 million and 4 years to produce, is a waste of money, as it just repeats what they've been complaining about for 30 years.
I feel this is quite outrageous. I think it is inhuman, and I am completely disappointed even by the reaction of the Nigerian government to say we are going to study the report and come out with something when they are saying people are dying by the day. I think what the least the Nigerian government ought to have done the next morning after the report is to revoke the license of Shell.
But there's no chance of the Nigerian government revoking Shell's operating license because of the damage. More than 90% of the government's revenue comes from oil exports, giving oil companies like Shell tremendous political leverage. And local people say that even in light of the report, Shell, as it tries to clean up the mess, is still causing more damage and pollution to the area. Take a look at this pool of crude oil. It's supposed to be part of the cleanup operation, but local people tell us it's having the opposite effect, because when it starts to rain, the pool rises and flows into the rivers and streams where many people get drinking water from. They also say Shell is covering much of the damaged area with sand, so they call it a cover-up.
Receive the right honourable Prime Minister. Let us remain standing for the national anthem and the East African anthem.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tulilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike, umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you very much. You may have take your seats, please. Prayer Let us pray. Heavenly Father, we thank you for this time. We thank you for the responsibilities you've given us. We thank you for the service that the members provide to this country. We thank you for the president and the leadership. We pray that you guide us in this meeting, very important meeting. In the name of God, I've prayed. Amen. Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Second Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers, present, members of Parliament, the Permanent Secretary is present, the Permanent Secretary of the Office of Prime Minister, Executive Directors of NEMA and the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. Ladies and gentlemen, you are welcome to the launch of the National Oil Spills Contingency Plan. My name is Julius Muchunguzi. I'm your MC. I'm the Head of Communications and Communication Advisor to the Prime Minister. You're welcome. We'll quickly, Right Honorable, the program is with you there. And what we have next on the program is a safety moment that is going to be quickly taken to us through by Ms. Jane Byaruhanga from the Petroleum Authority of Uganda. A safety moment, she will explain what it is. I believe we are secure, but maybe not.
Thank you so much. Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. Protocol observed. Today's safety moment, I'll start with the housekeeping rules. We are currently on the ground floor at the conference hall at the office of the President. We are having our ladies on the left. Once you get out there, you'll find them there, and the gents on the right on the same area. Currently, we have no drills for fire or emergencies, so any alarm that goes off is actually a true alarm. So we shall use the two exits and go behind us, just like you came in at the checkpoint. Just in front there is our master point today. For the safety moment today, this is one of the industry best practice where we actually focus on one thing or other to keep us safe but also healthy in our lives. So being the launch of the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan, we are going to focus on the Macondo blowout explosion. We have a bit of learning points for them from the Macondo incident. I'll give you a little bit of the overview. This occurred on the 20th of April 2010 when the Macondo well blew out. 11 fatalities were reported from this incident, and British Petroleum owned the well located offshore. The Deepwater Horizon oil rig sank, causing a massive spill of crude into the Gulf of Mexico. A few impacts that occurred from this incident that we have to learn from is the loss of human life, damaged fisheries and critical habitats, disrupted an entire region's economy, but also we found that BP had to pay a lot of fines and compensation, among others. What are some of the learning points we get here? An investigation was done, and some of the causes, the leading causes of the incident was a government oversight, ranging from personnel constraints to absence of rules and plans to manage the safety and environmental risks by the operators. The disregard of data, including failed cement test results, changes in the processes and procedures, but also a poor safety culture and also communications. What are the key lessons for Uganda as a country in this? One of them is the prevention. We need to improve drilling safety and also reduce the likelihood of a well control incident. The intervention that was given at the time was to decrease the time it takes to stop the flow from the uncontrolled well. And the last learning lesson will be the response, which is to deliver an effective oil spill response and preparedness capability, which the country is doing currently. Lastly, COVID is still with us. Just give you a little bit of the situation analysis. According to the World Health Organization, as of the 14th of March 2022, less than 466 million cases and over 6 million deaths have been reported globally. The new COVID-19 cases and deaths have continued to decline by about 5% and 8% respectively. So we should be sure that COVID is not yet over, though it is actually declining, Be alert and don't be complacent. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Jen. And on that note, let me invite the Permanent Secretary, Office of the Prime Minister, to give some opening remarks, and then we'll proceed with the program as you have it. Thank you.
Thank you. The Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Second Deputy Prime Minister and Deputy Leader of Government Business in Parliament, Honorable Ministers, the UN Resident Representative, Heads of Diplomatic Missions, Permanent Secretaries, Heads of Government Agencies and Institutions, and especially show the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, representatives of the district local governments, international oil companies, and representatives of non-governmental organizations and CBOs, the media, distinguished ladies and gentlemen. My name is Geoffrey Seremba. I'm standing in for the Permanent Secretary Office of the Prime Minister, Mr. Keith Muhakanis, who is unable to be here because of another national program. Thank you, Right Honorable and distinguished leaders. I warmly welcome you to this event of the launch of the National Oil Spill Contingencies Plan. And I wish to extend my sincere appreciation to NORAD through the Norwegian Coast Administration for the financial and technical support toward the development of the plan, and our own technical officers from the different institutions, departments, and agencies, namely Office of the Prime Minister, our Department of Disaster Preparedness and Management, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, and the National Environment Management Authority. I wish to recognize the roles of other stakeholders, namely NEMA, PAU, the district government, international oil companies, the communities and the private sector in ensuring successful implementation of the plan, the strong commitment to collaboration, cooperation, and compliance. The development in the oil and gas sector is under the National Development Plan 3, Program 4, and this requires putting in place adequate policies and regulations, dissemination of knowledge on oil spill preparedness and response, stakeholder engagement, and capacity development among the stakeholders. The National Oil Spill Contingency Plan for Uganda 2020 offers a framework for effective oil spill preparedness, prevention, and response, but more importantly, highlighting roles and levels of involvement of stakeholders. The Office of the Prime Minister has the overall responsibility for operational coordination of the national oil spill response, while collaborating with competent national authority, particularly Petroleum Authority of Uganda, the National Environment Management Authority, and other relevant lead agencies. The Office of the Prime Minister, through the National Emergency Coordination and Operational Center, known as NECOC, has a specific role to prevent, control, combat, and mitigate oil spills and related impacts, and coordinate response mechanisms. We hope that the framework provided in the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan will be used by all stakeholders to guide our oil spill preparedness, prevention, and response interventions from now on and at all levels of the response. I say this for God and my country, and I thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Mr. Permanent Secretary, for those remarks. I just want to mention that we are here in this hall, but there are many hundreds and thousands perhaps who are following this, this launch online, on YouTube, and the live tweeting of this event is being displayed on that screen there. And the hashtag for everybody that is on Twitter is hashtag oil spill plan Uganda. Oil spill plan UG. Oil spill plan UG. Hashtag oil spill plan UG. It's important that we tweet and let the world know that the preparedness of Uganda is alive. Thank you very much. Let me now request the Executive Director of National Environment Management Authority to come and take us through the highlights of this plan. Dr. Akankwasa.
Thank you very much, the Master of Ceremonies, the Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Second Deputy Prime Minister, the Honorable Ministers, Honorable Members of Parliament, members of the Diplomatic Corps, the Permanent Secretary, Office of the Prime Minister, Executive Director, Petroleum Authority of Uganda, distinguished representatives from international oil companies, colleagues from ministries, departments, agencies, and local governments, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen, all protocols observed. I will be taking you through the highlights of the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan for Uganda, which is a document that was developed consultatively across the entire government spectrum, civil society, private sector, and the development partners. The oil and the gas industry, as you know, has taken a firm shape now. And we are now firmly on the ground in the territory of production. And as such, it is important that we prepare ourselves for any unlikely eventuality of an oil spill. Within the oil and gas industry environmental pillar, we've been consciously and closely working with the Petroleum Authority of Uganda and the international oil companies to ensure that as we get our oil, the environment is not damaged and the social well-being of citizens is not negatively affected, but rather positively impacted. So our objective is to ensure a net positive outcome in terms of environment and social safeguards. Oil Spill Contingency Plan is a detailed oil spill response and removal plan that addresses controlling, containing, and recovering an oil discharge in quantities that may be harmful to people and the environment. And as we all know, preventing oil spills is the best strategy for avoiding potential damage to human health and the environment. The best approach for containing and controlling oil spill is to quickly and in a well-organized manner respond to the incident. And a response that is quick and organized definitely results in not only saving the environment, but also human health, as well as investment assets. A contingency plan considers all possibilities of what could go wrong. It is a scenario-based document that theorizes all possible scenarios. The worst case scenario, if it happens, how do we respond? And it's contingent upon events and enlists contacts, resource lists, and strategies to assist in responding to a spill. The National Oil Spill Contingency Plan for Uganda has key elements of hazard identification, vulnerability analysis, risk assessment, as well as response actions. In hazard identification, the plan recognizes where oil exists or is stored, the corridors through which oil is transported, and the facilities that process or use large quantities of oil. And under the vulnerability analysis, the plan provides information about resources and communities that could be harmed in the event of a spill. And this helps the country to respond in a reasonable time with well-informed choices, and thereby protecting the public health and the environment. Under the risk assessment, there is correlation of hazard and vulnerability in a particular location to determine the magnitude of risk posed. And in the response actions, the plan has put in place mechanisms to address risks identified in the risk assessment, and has described the major actions that need to be taken when a spill occurs. Government is fully aware that we need to preserve and protect human health and the natural environment from any risk of oil spill and any risk from petroleum operations and activities and associated petroleum commodities, because we are conscious that the oil and gas industry is taking place in a very fragile ecosystem, as we all know. And consequently, this National Oil Spill Contingency Plan has looked at all these scenarios and has established effective mechanisms for combating and preempting any oil spill in Uganda. How was the plan developed? The plan was developed by a technical working group of public officials constituting institutions of government, the civil society, and the private sector, and with the support of our partners. The plan was developed in line with all relevant policies, legislations, standards, and best petroleum industry practices and applicable international treaties. Right Honorable Prime Minister, adequate consultations with stakeholders, including district local governments, civil society organizations, international oil companies, private sector, government ministries, departments, and agencies were all consulted. And the resulting document was peer-reviewed by independent experts to ensure that the plan is foolproof. The plan highlights the responsibility of licensees and operators for prevention and preparedness and response to oil spills within the country, and provides for protection of human health and environment from oil spills. It establishes an effective and coordinated national oil spill preparedness and response system, including designating responsible institutions in case of a spill. And the plan has also provided a system for coordination of oil spill preparedness and response between licensees, operators, local governments, and the international partners. The plan also establishes a system for oil spill preparedness and response equipment mobilization, including training of personnel, drills, and exercises. The plan has 12 chapters, which I will not go into in the interest of time, Right Honorable Prime Minister and Honorable Ministers. But Chapter 1 looks at policies, legal and regulatory framework, and the rationale. And Chapter 2 looks at hazard identification, vulnerability analysis, risk analysis, and contingency analysis. Chapter 3 looks at our levels of preparedness and response in greater detail. Chapter 4 gives an overview of organizational structure for the National Oil Spill Preparedness and Response System and puts in place linkages between different structures for better coordination. Chapter 5 details required notification, responsibilities, and reporting procedures. And Chapter 6 presents consideration of behavior of a spill once it has occurred and enlists health and safety of the public and oil spill responders in the order of priority. And the priority is always to save human life, protect the environment, and safeguard economic interests. Chapter 7 identifies resources, technical and human, required during a response operation and assesses capacity needs for collaboration at local and international level. Chapter 8 highlights feasible response strategies and practicable oil spill recovery techniques and the net environment benefits analysis, and also establishes the decontamination sites. Chapter 9 looks at management of waste and puts in place a strategy of managing waste as part of the contingency planning. And Chapter 10 looks at the mobilization of response operations and determination of when response is complete. In other words, the plan has a full cycle of pre, during, and after spill. Chapter 11 looks at cost recovery and liability, and a very important provision has been put, the polluter pays principle. Right Honorable Prime Minister and Honorable Ministers, the responsibility to pay for the cost of the spill remains on the international oil companies. And where government of Uganda is required to intervene in case of a national disaster, the costs of government will be borne by the international oil company that would have resulted into a spill. So here, all of us must take full responsibility, especially the players, because it doesn't matter what caused the accident. It doesn't matter that you did your utmost best. The liability remains on the operator, irrespective of whether all reasonable measures were taken. The liability still remains there. And so I call upon the operators to have this in mind and operate with the utmost efficiency and effectiveness and with maximum safeguards, because there is a cost in the case of any lapse. And lastly, Chapter 12 looks at exercises, drills, and trainings required. In conclusion, Right Honorable Prime Minister, the National Environment Act number 5 of 2019, and the National Environment Oil Spill Prevention, Preparedness and Response Regulations of 2020 establish the legal framework that is adequate to respond to oil spill incidents. A lot of work still has to be done in terms of developing sensitivity maps to complement the plan, but we are very positive that the government, the players are moving in the right direction. We shall continue to put in place necessary legal, regulatory, and institutional framework to support the management of the environment pillar of oil and gas industry, and we shall continue to build our capacity in order to manage this industry. As we launch the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan, Right Honorable Prime Minister, after that we shall need to go to the development of Tier 2 contingency plans covering districts and some lead agencies where these operations are taking place. There is need to continuously build the capacity of the citizens, of the operators, of lead agencies, of all government-wide players, so that we harness our oil with minimal damage, if at all, on the environment. I thank you, Right Honorable Prime Minister and honorable members. I submit.
That was Dr. Akankwasa Balirega, the Executive Director of the National Environment Management Authority. Thank you, Right Honorable Prime Minister. The people online have been asking that who are those people on the platform, this one here. So I will let the people who are following know who the people on this platform are. Of course, the Right Honorable Prime Minister is the Right Honorable Prime Minister, Right Honorable Robin Anabanja. She doesn't need a lot of introduction. You can see her. On her right is Right Honorable General, retired, but certainly not tired, Moses Ali. On his right is Honorable Engineer Hilary Onek. Here, Engineer Onek is the Minister responsible for relief, disaster, and preparedness and refugees. The Right Honorable Moses Ali is the second Deputy Prime Minister and Deputy Leader of Government Business. On the left of the Right Honorable Prime Minister is Honorable Dr. Ruth Nankabirwa Sentamu, the responsible minister, the Minister for Mineral Energy and Mineral Development. And on the extreme left is Mr. Helga from the Norwegian Coastal Administration. And we have other ministers in our midst. We have the Honorable Government Chief Whip, I think I'm right, Honorable Thomas Tayebwa, and we have the Minister of State for Northern Uganda, Honorable Grace Chiukwin. I think we also have Honorable Dr. Okasai, am I right? Who is also present here. So those are the people on the podium, on the platform. And the hashtag, again, is Oil Spill Plan UG. Oil Spill Plan UG, and we thank the Government Citizen Interaction Center who are pushing this online conversation and pushing the message to the world. On this note, I would like to invite the Executive Director of the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, PAU, Mr. Ernest Rubondo, to make his remarks and let us know what PAU's role is in all this. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MC. The Right Honorable Prime Minister, the Right Honorable Second Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers, and Honorable Ministers of State, Honorable Members of Parliament, and the Chief Whip, members of diplomatic corps, including the representative from the Embassy of Norway, permanent secretaries and colleagues, chief executives of government agencies, representatives of business entities, especially the oil companies represented here, members of the press, ladies and gentlemen. The Petroleum Authority of Uganda is delighted to be part of this very important event of launching the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan for Uganda. Let me start by informing the audience what the Petroleum Authority is responsible for. The Petroleum Authority of Uganda is a statutory body established by law whose mandate is to monitor, regulate, and ensure that petroleum operations in the country are carried out in accordance with the relevant laws, regulations, guidelines, statutes, and in line with international best practice for the petroleum industry. That is to say, because the oil industry is new in Uganda, in case something is out there and it is more useful than what the country's legislation provides for, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda is required to ensure that the country implements or does what is best in the world and is not necessarily restricted to what is provided for in the legislation. Right Honorable Prime Minister, Uganda's oil and gas sector has progressed and continues to register critical and important milestones. The recent announcement of the final investment decision for the 3 flagship projects in the petroleum sector, that is Tilenga, Kingfisher, and the East African Crude Oil Pipeline, at the beginning of February by the licensed oil companies, was a major statement in this regard. The announcement of this decision means that over $15 billion is expected to be invested into the country's economy. This investment, as you will all appreciate, comes with increased levels of activity in the country's oil and gas sector in particular, but also in the country in general. This announcement also marks the commencement of a period of 3 years of extremely intense infrastructure development in preparation for first oil, which is expected in 2025. The Petroleum Authority of Uganda is looking forward to working with other institutions of government to regulate these activities so that they achieve the desired outcomes. It is important to note that in addition to the Tilenga and Kingfisher petroleum production projects and the export pipeline, there are other petroleum activities in the country. And these include the exploration activities by companies which the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development has licensed, which are being undertaken in Ngasa and the Kanyuataba exploration areas. And they will also include the development of the refinery, which is planned. I am saying this so that the audience does not restrict the oil spill contingency plan to only the production and pipeline activities. It's important to know that it encompasses other oil and gas activities, which include those. In implementing its mandate, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda also aims to ensure that development of the country's oil and gas resources creates lasting value for the Ugandan society, but also contributes to the country being a sound investment destination, especially in aspects of oil and gas. Now, in line with these aspirations, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda has prioritized environment, health, safety, and social aspects of the country's oil and gas sector as one of the key pillars of its regulation. The overriding objective of this pillar of the authority is to ensure that the oil and gas activities are undertaken safely and in a manner that does not harm the environment. I trust that most of us are aware that Uganda's oil and gas resources are located in very pristine environments. The Executive Director of the National Environment Management Authority has just emphasized this aspect. There is therefore a need to ensure harmonious coexistence between the oil and gas sector and the environment and the host communities in which these activities are being undertaken. In this regard, development of the oil and gas activities is not only being benchmarked on Uganda's environment and social legislation, but it is also being benchmarked on international best practice standards so that the country can achieve the best. Conclusion of the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan has established a firm foundation for oil spill prevention, preparedness, response, which will contribute to sustainable development of the country's oil and gas resources, which have been discovered in the country and are going to be developed. I wish, therefore, on behalf of the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, to express our sincere appreciation to you, Right Honorable Prime Minister, and the Honorable Ministers for providing the leadership in the development of this National Oil Spill Contingency Plan. I would also like to thank the technical teams in the country and in the different institutions in the country for the efforts that have enabled putting in place this plan, especially before the oil and gas activities intensify in the country. Uganda is privileged, and some people complain a lot about the pace at which oil and gas activities have been undertaken by saying they are slow. But the country has used this delay to build its infrastructure and put in place frameworks. This is one of them that is definitely coming in place in time for these activities. Our experience around the world is that many countries put plans like this in place long after they have produced oil, but also, unfortunately, after incidents that are not desirable have occurred. So it's important to recognize that it's been foresight by this government to have put this in place. Right Honourable Prime Minister, the Royal Government of Norway, through the Oil for Development Program, has supported the development of this plan. The Petroleum Authority of Uganda, as the designated competent national authority, is committed to ensuring the implementation and operability of the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan. In this regard, the authority has initiated steps geared towards strengthening regulatory capacity in oil spill management, and these plans include equipping oil spill monitoring and incident command centers in the country, facilitating the establishment of oil spill response equipment hubs, undertaking specialized capacity in oil spill management, and this building capacity is very important because this sector of oil is relatively new in the country. The examples of capacity building that have been done include the International Maritime Organization first responder training, which was undertaken this week, and the participants in this were drawn from various government ministries, departments, and agencies, and included local governments from Nwoya, Bulisa, Chikube, and Hoima districts. This training was facilitated by the Norwegian Coastal Administration, which has vast international experience in oil spill management. The other aspect of capacity building is the officials of the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, the National Environment Management Authority, and the Office of the Prime Minister are scheduled to undertake an oil spill clearance training next month. This training will be facilitated by the Oil Spill Response Limited, which is the leading international oil spill response company in the United Kingdom. An oil spill tabletop and a full equipment deployment exercise and drill are scheduled to be undertaken in May and September this year, respectively. Those are the aspects that are being undertaken, planned in capacity building, so that this plan is implemented as soon as it is required. Other plans aimed at strengthening oil spill management include supporting the development of the oil spill contingency plans for the government lead agencies and district local governments, and developing a framework for international collaboration on oil spills. Right Honorable Prime Minister and Ministers, it's important to note that the oil industry, the companies licensed, also have responsibilities in this regard. The companies will develop activity-specific oil spill contingency plans for the activities which they are specifically implementing. If a company is operating a pipeline, it needs to have specific plans to ensure oil spill planning for that activity. If it is drilling a well, it is also required to have plans for that aspect. We expect these companies to have these plans ready and in place before the activities happen. I am aware that they have some plans for the activities they are implementing now, because some of you are aware that they are already doing a lot of construction in the field. Some of this construction includes movement of fuel and so on. I would like to assure you that the companies do have plans for this. But these are small compared to what is coming. And so we expect that before the large-scale drilling starts later this year, the companies will have expanded and enhanced the oil spill facilities that they have in the field. As I conclude, I would like to once again express my very sincere appreciation to the Office of the Prime Minister, the National Environment Management Authority, my minister and the Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, the Royal Norwegian Government, for your special contributions in the development of this National Oil Spill Contingency Plan. I thank you for God and my country.
Thank you very much, Mr. Ernest Rubondo, the ED of Petroleum Authority of Uganda and the designated competent authority in these matters. I would like now to take the opportunity to invite Mr. Helga from the Norwegian Coastal Administration to come and give us some remarks with thanks for the support that you provide. Please come this side. Yeah. Come this side. Thank you.
Thank you. Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, it's a privilege for me as a representative for Norwegian Coastal Administration and on behalf of the Norwegian government to congratulate the government of Uganda with the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan. It has been a privilege for the Norwegian government, the Oil for Development Program, and the Norwegian Coastal Administration to assist the government of Uganda with the work to establish the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan. We are sure that this plan will help the government of Uganda in their work to produce oil and still protect the fragile environment. Norwegian Coastal Administration have 50 years experience in oil spill preparedness and response. And we hope we will be able to continue the support to the government of Uganda with the Norwegian experience and knowledge also in the future. Again, congratulations and good luck in the time to come.
Thank you very much, Mr. Helga from the Norwegian Coastal Administration. I'd like to take this very singular opportunity to invite the Honorable Minister of Energy and Mineral Development, Honorable Dr. Ruth Nankabirwa Sentamu. The floor is yours.
Thank you very much. Right on our Prime Minister, Right Honorable Second Deputy Prime Minister, my colleagues, ministers, the permanent secretaries present, executive directors from government agencies, the representative from the Norwegian Embassy, our colleagues from the media fraternity, good morning to you all. First of all, I would like to tell Muchunguzi that Dr. Okasai is the Minister of State for Energy. I work with him, he's present. Right Honorable Prime Minister, on behalf of my ministry, Ministry of Energy and Mineral Development, which also takes care of petroleum development in Uganda, I want to express our gratitude to you as the leader of government business for the support that you have showed my ministry so far. We were here yesterday as a committee, a subcommittee of cabinet on oil and gas. We spent half of the day discussing the progress that we have made and also going through the challenges. And we are here today to witness a very important function in this style, telling everyone that Uganda is prepared in her journey into the development and exploitation of our petroleum resources. We are not going to leave any stone unturned. So I want to thank you very much. From the side of my ministry, I just want to assure you that we are making sure that we put in place all the necessary legislations. And at this juncture, I would like to express my gratitude to the Government Chief Whip, Honorable Tayebwa, for the support that you accord us in Parliament. It's not easy to mobilize members of Parliament to expressly process the necessary legislation that we have. You heard about the East African Crude Oil Pipeline Bill, which we were able to process through Parliament. And from that bill, we were able now to stand firmly and give a date, 1st of February, where we witnessed the final investment decision being declared. And like the ED Petroleum Authority of Uganda has informed you, that announcement has attracted major investments worth $15 billion from February, 1st February this year alone. So the bill was very, very critical. And from there, we are going to see a lot of happenings. So today's function of announcing the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan in this style is a key statement to many people, especially the NGOs, right on our Prime Minister. Amongst the challenges that we've been facing are some of the NGOs who are destructive. Of course, we appreciate the paradigm shift, the new narrative now of energy transition, clean energy. But Uganda, like many other African countries, who have been slowly developing our petroleum industry, we need support. Much as we appreciate the fact that we have to take care of the environment, we are members of so many international conventions, but because we have to observe and implement all the strategic development goals, including one of fighting energy poverty and another one of job creation, we need support to make sure that we develop this industry so that we can get money to work on the infrastructure that will bring jobs, infrastructure that will fight energy poverty. So the NGOs out there who have been thinking that at one time maybe we will be derailed, we will be detracted from our journey that we have walked slowly but surely, today's pronouncement, today's launch of this contingency plan is a statement to you that Uganda will continue with her journey. And I want to thank everyone who has supported us in this journey. I want to thank the Executive Director of NEMA. You have taken us through the key issues in this strategic plan, contingency plan that we are launching. And what NEMA has told us is really to convince everyone that we have left no stone unturned in making sure that we observe what we are supposed to observe. So for me, I'm happy, Right Honorable Prime Minister, that this statement is coming out today. May I call upon everyone concerned to make sure that the plan is made available for people to read, for every stakeholder to read, so that we shall have ambassadors who will talk on behalf of Uganda to say that Uganda is well prepared. Our delay in the development of our oil industry has not been for nothing, as Ernest has said. We've been able to benchmark. We are lucky that we have been able to benchmark. So our discovery of oil is not a curse. We've been able to benchmark and we've been able to make corrections from the mistakes that other countries have done. So for us, we are happy, we are moving slowly, but we shall arrive without casualties. We shall arrive and get our oil off the ground. Let me use this opportunity also to remind ourselves that we know we've determined the D-Day, the delivery date of our first oil as 2025. That first oil is going to be crude. Don't come with jerry cans to ask for oil for use. It's going to be crude. It has to be processed through a refinery. So we are moving on two fronts. One front is to make sure that the oil comes off the ground 2025. Another front is to make sure that we have the refinery established in Uganda, in the Kabale Industrial Park, in Chikube. So on the journey of the refinery, we expect to announce the final investment decision probably next year, 2023. And what that will bring is that people will declare interest, people will come in to invest money. And we are looking for an anchor investor towards that direction. And therefore, the oil will come out before the refinery is commissioned. And we are expecting the commissioning date to be 2027. We will squeeze, but there are certain things that were supposed to be happening 9-10 months ago, which did not happen because of many issues, but COVID-19 inclusive. We slowed down. So that period has been factored into the next programs. So the refinery will come after the oil is out. I thought I should use this opportunity to make this clarification, because, Right Honorable Prime Minister, even as I speak now, some people think that the oil is already off the ground. And when they see trucks going to Hoima, they think that those trucks are ferrying oil from Hoima. The trucks are taking petroleum to the activities that are happening at Tilenga, where we will expect 190,000 barrels a day, and also in Kingfisher Down, where we will expect 40,000 barrels a day. There are activities, construction sites, where we are expecting the central processing facilities at Tilenga. All that requires oil. So oil will be out of the ground in 2025. I want really to end by thanking everyone. I want to thank the Norwegian government for the support that you've given us since 2006. Right Honorable Prime Minister, I have my staff who have benefited. Mr. Malinga, the Directorate of Petroleum in my ministry. I don't know whether there is another person. Those people enjoyed the trainings in Norway, sponsored by your government. So I want to appreciate. I appreciate the NEMA, sincerely speaking. NEMA, you have done us proud. Thank you so much. Other government agencies. But above all, I want to thank the President of Uganda. He's been consistent. He's been guiding us. And I just want to pledge that we will not let him down. Right Honorable Prime Minister, we shall not let our President down because he's been consistent, very patient. He has trained Ugandans, and we are about to achieve what you have been waiting for. I don't want to use many words. Today has been a very big day. I expect our colleagues from the media fraternity to help us spread the gospel that Uganda is on course in her journey towards the development of our oil. I want to stop here and thank you very much for listening to me. Can I invite the next speaker, Honorable Hilary Onek, the Minister in charge of disaster preparedness. We are prepared. Thank you very much.
The Right Honorable remove this cushion. The Right Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers, before Honorable Ministers, Second Deputy Prime Minister, General Moses Ali, Honorable Ministers of State, UN Resident Representative, heads of diplomatic missions, the permanent secretaries, heads of government agencies, government representatives, international oil companies, representatives of the NGOs and CSOs, the media, ladies and gentlemen. Today marks yet another great success in the NRM government service milestone, as it demonstrates the benefit accrued from our efforts towards the development of the oil and gas sector, a key pillar in the development of National Development Plan 3, in the achievement of National Development Plan 3. As we prepare to start exploiting our national oil resources, government has put in place this National Oil Spill Contingency Plan in a bid to prepare, prevent, respond to incidences of oil spills that are always associated with the oil and gas developments. I acknowledge the concerted effort of the technical working groups from Office of the Prime Minister, Petroleum Authority, the National Environmental Management Authority, and the district local governments that work tirelessly to finalize this plan, and the technical and financial support from the Norwegian government through the Norwegian Coastal Administration. To ensure successful implementation of this National Oil Spill Contingency Plan, the government technical working group have embarked on the development of an implementation plan for the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan, whose key deliverables and most implications shall be shared with all of you for possible support where necessary. The features of the implementation plan are summarized as follows. One, it is the oil spill preparedness, which includes to strengthen network under the Office of the Prime Minister and other emergency operations centers to coordinate oil spill preparedness and response requirements. Two, to update the risk hazards and vulnerability profile sensitivity maps for the oil and gas districts. Undertake the environmental risk assessment and oil spill contingency analysis for the development phase of the oil and gas sector, and develop operational guidelines for oil spill preparedness and response. Two, health and safety. We ensure that training is conducted with drills and stimulation exercises to support tier 2 response capability by lead agencies, including downstream operations, establish a framework for international collaborations, establish oil spills equipment hub and inventory, and conducting incident and post-spill monitoring and recovery. The National Oil Spill Contingency Plan and its implementation plan were developed in a holistic manner, considering all relevant aspects of oil development and underlying risk, direct, indirect, and indirect potential impacts, and diagnosis of the resources of risk, I shall call upon partners present to interest themselves with one or more aspects of the plan in order to support the design of policies and influence investments to make the oil development efficient and effective. With those few remarks, I would wish to invite my senior colleague, Honorable General Mozali, to make his remarks before I invite the Right Honorable Prime Minister to give her remarks. Thank you very much.
Right Honorable Prime Minister, Honorable Ministers, Ambassador of Norway, all invited guests, ladies and gentlemen. I'd like to take this opportunity to thank everybody here and indeed the country for the stability, by the way. All this is happening because there is a continuous stability, no interruption. From 86. And I will pray that it continues. I therefore, with this, want to say I'm very pleased. I'm very pleased because I've been in the system for quite some time, and I've enjoyed the last few years. Now I've enjoyed it because of this stability. So let's continue. As Ugandans should be proud of our government for consistently giving us peace. And therefore, I think the person who should claim this is the President of Uganda, because he's the one in charge, and I kept it on. So let's pray. I now have opportunity to invite the Prime Minister to come and preside over this occasion. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
The second Deputy Prime Minister, Honorable Ali Haj. The Honorable Ministers, the Ministers of State, a representative of the Ambassador of Norway to Uganda, the Permanent Secretaries, Executive Directors of NEMA and the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, our technical people, the media, ladies and gentlemen, I congratulate all those who have worked hard to ensure that the National Oil Contingency Plan gets completed and is ready for launching today. The government of Uganda, under the able leadership of His Excellency Yoweri Kaguta Museveni, is mindful of the need to protect human health and the environment from all developmental projects. And the oil and gas sector is particularly prone to such risks. It is therefore important that we have in place this detailed plan that will guide all sectors in the unlikely event of oil spilling from the pipeline, storage facilities, and at the refinery. Right Honorable Prime Minister and Honorable Ministers, ladies and gentlemen, yesterday I chaired a meeting of the Cabinet Subcommittee on Oil and Gas, and the main focus was getting all key actors on board to ensure that we can start to get oil from the ground and get the resource to contribute to the national development. Like they have told you, our target is to have the oil out of ground by 2025. But the issue of protecting the environment also came up. We are all aware of the nature, environment, where oil and gas activities take place, including areas of high biodiversity
of the plant and the animal species, cultural and natural heritage, protected areas, as well as religious and historical sites. We must make sure that all we develop and exploit oil and gas resources, we do not destroy our environment as we do all this. You are always aware that prevention is better than cure, and therefore we expect that every effort will be made to take precautionary and preventive measures to avoid negative impacts from the oil and gas sector, including the oil spills. However, in the event of an oil incident, I mean oil spill incident, prompt and effective action is essential in order to minimize damage as a result from such incident. And that's why this plan is important and timely. I'm glad that the office of the Prime Minister has been coordinating and is ready to play key roles in the oil and gas and environment protection sectors. Of course, for us, ours is to coordinate you. Of course, notably, the National Environment Management Authority, the Petroleum Authority of Uganda, to get this plan done. We have done the coordination role, and I want to thank my technical staff for the work well done. I would like to point out that this plan will only be relevant if it is widely disseminated and publicized to the population so that the public knows what to do in case they notice any signs of an oil spill. We do not want to shelve this documentation. For example, we know that the crude oil pipeline will be passing through many districts, many sub-counties, villages, town councils, forests, valleys, and swamps. The people in those areas where it will pass will need to be sensitized on what to do and what not to do in case of any incident. That is, communication and information sharing is therefore a key component for the rollout of this plan. In that regard, I'm happy to see many representatives of the media in this room to cover this launch. Coverage of this plan should not only stop here at the launch. Like I've already told you, let us disseminate this information, because this is a national document now as we talk. Finally, allow me to thank the loyal Norwegian government and the Norwegian Coastal Agency for supporting the production of this plan. Norway has been and remains our trusted partner in the development of oil and gas sector. Thank you so much. You are aware that there are many great lessons for us to learn from the way Norway managers and their management has done it when it comes to oil and gas resources. I want to once again thank the President for being consistent and committed towards the oil and gas sector. With those few remarks, it is now my pleasure to launch the National Oil Spill Contingency Plan. Thank you so much for God and my country.
So, thank you, Right Honorable Prime Minister, for those remarks and for launching this very important contingency plan. We will sign on that dummy of the plan, but actually the actual plan is available with everybody who is in this room, and everybody has a copy of that plan. So, Right Honorable, you will sign, and the Right Honorable Deputy Prime Minister, and then followed by the Honorable Ministers. The camera people are ready to make sure that that is captured. So, Right Honorable. In the name of the Father. And you keep there because we're going to take a picture from there. Right Honorable Second Deputy. Please put a date so that the date is yes. Yes. Let me request the government chief whip and the Honorable Minister of State for Northern Uganda to follow so that and Honorable Dr. Okasai, Honorable Dr. Okasai, so that they are witnesses to this. Dr. Okasai? And they will keep there. The camera people are requesting that we hold, yes, that it is not just a dummy, that it is not just a dummy, but it's actually there. Helga, please, Helga. The copies, please give me those copies, please. Give me those copies. Sign on, sign on, sign on. Helga, please, that your signature is required there. Yes. So, thank you very much. Now, this is the photo moment, the real deal, with the real copies, with the dummy in the middle. Chitambula, yes, it's moving. It's moving. Do we have, let's, yes, let's check to make sure. Okay, great. Thank you very much, Right Honourable Prime Minister. And I want to thank you, everybody, the ministers, the Permanent Secretary, the Norwegian government. Thank you for gracing the occasion and for giving it the profile that it deserves. And we are going to sing the anthems. I thank the media. The people of the media have been here in big numbers, but also in particular thank the Government Citizen Interaction Center, our digital platform for government communications, for the great platform you provided to let the country know that this is happening. Thank you very much. So let's have the anthems in reverse order. And after the anthems, some lunch has been prepared in the canteen. Please make sure that you partake of it. The canteen is downstairs in the basement. Thank you very much. Let's have the anthems.
Afrika Mashariki, tuwezeshe kuishi kwa amani, tutimize na malengo yetu. Jumuiya yetu sote tuilinde, tuajibike, tuimarike. Umoja wetu ni nguzo yetu, idumu jumuiya yetu.
Thank you very much. The prayer we had in the morning covers the lunch, so you just start. Thank you very much.